today I do think I want to start with that. Okay, I know you guys in the chat are giving me the oh no's, the oh no, we don't want to do this, but you know what? Honestly, I would like to talk about Kaitlin Bennett. Okay, because there's been stuff before about how Kaitlin Bennett is a bit of a Nazi, is pro monarchy and all this other fun stuff, and it's. For a while, it was like musings, right? This is the thing we get with Richard Spencer. This is the thing we get with Kaitlin Bennett now, where they say one thing and then they end up meaning something completely different. So, with Richard Spencer, you get, we are pro-freedom of speech, and then when you talk to them in back doors, they're not pro-freedom of speech, but by being pro-freedom of speech, they get to push their anti-freedom of speech agenda much more easier, and then people who otherwise wouldn't ally with them end up doing so. So, if we look... there's my issue. There's my issue. I see why all of my videos have had weird audio balancing issues. It makes sense now. There we go. Things should be better now. I just dropped the volume down. But anyway, Kaitlin Bennett does the same thing, where she and her co-host run the Liberty Hangout podcast, and they run the Liberty Hangout Twitter as a result. Now... The memes about January 6th had been going on for quite some time. I know I'm very quiet now. Alexandra, but it's because I've noticed that in other videos, my audio peaks really high, and then the audio of whatever I'm responding to ends up being really, really low, and I have the audio of whatever I'm listening to maxed out. So I have to have it this low for now, because if I don't, then the end result is going to be that there's going to be an unwatchable video later. Here, I can maybe do this, and this will make it a little better. There we go. Anywho, back onto the topic at hand, outside of the topic of audio balancing issues. Let's go ahead and look at what kind of meltdown was happening with Kaitlin Bennett over the course of all of this madness. Because we've got plenty of issues to have with Kaitlin Bennett, right? She's anti-LGBTQ, decently... problematic, not assaults people, but gets on campus and hits people with gotcha questions that she's definitely prepared to have counter examples for, but usually the random people she grabs on campus aren't, and then this allows her to have these gotcha moments that she puts all over her YouTube channel. So, apologies in advance for what I'm about to show you, and also apologies for the awkward audio in this particular episode as we get things settled out. But, and I did not screenshot these. These have been screenshotted by by Rational Disconnect and other lefties on Twitter. From Liberty Hangout. Remember, also, this extends ostensibly, is going to be Kaitlin and her podcast partner type deal, saying things like, I want Donald Trump to declare himself a king. Today, democracy has failed us. Now, can I just say that what we have right now isn't a failure of democracy? What we have, well, actually, no, it is a bit of a failure of democracy. Let me refrain. The voting and the way that it's happening right now is not a failure of democracy. This is a demonstration of the efficacies of democracy. However, the fact that we were able to get Donald Trump in the first place is a failure of democracy. So, this is one of those things where, like, yeah, you're technically right, but you're thinking the failure of democracy is that your favorite orange Cheeto is getting unseated out of power. My reason that I think there's a failure of democracy is that he was even able to get power to begin with. But aside from, let me go ahead and point out, just, they're called Liberty Hangout, and yet they want to be a monarchy. They want Trump to be king. We have been posting positively about monarchy for nearly 6 years now, and everyone thought we were crazy for it. Look at what's happening to our country. Still think making Trump our king is a bad idea? What the hell do we have left to lose? So, can I just say that Trump was the person who incited the violence in the Capitol. He is the reason it was there, and it was his ineptitude at how to respond to that led to that violence escalating in the way that it did. You don't look at a bunch of people who are engaged in violent actions right now and go, "You're all so special. You're all so special." You don't do that. That's not how this works. I know that Kaitlin Bennett's also posted on her Twitter, and I will find it, but there's a very particular post that I want to get because it exemplifies this problem so much. Let's see here. Where are you, Kaitlin? Where are you? I just want the person. This is one of the few times where I think I can ever honestly say that I want to find Kaitlin Bennett in any way, shape, or form. Am I just misspelling it? That could be it. That could be it. How do I spell your name, Nazi child? There we go. There we go. We found it. Trump is my president. Okay, so my message to real Donald Trump is simple. It's time to defund public universities. Not another penny in taxes should go to these left-wing indoctrination centers. I go ahead and say that it's honestly really poetic that right-wingers like Kaitlin are so desperate to defund education because they want everybody to be as fucking dumb as them. They want everybody to be as stupid as they are. And it's saddening because we will never get to the point where I say we'll never get to the point where the population en masse is as stupid as Kaitlin, but 74 million people voted for Donald Trump. So I guess I can't say it and not be lying. Where is... there's supposed to be a post in here. Unless she deleted it. Ah, here we go. Found it. Kaitlin Bennett here with the, "And I must say tonight that a riot is the language of the unheard. And what is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear the promises of freedom and justice that have not been met." So, if you want freedom and justice, the last thing you want is a monarchy, okay? You want totalitarian control. You want an authoritarian dictatorship. You do not want freedom. Now, can I go ahead and say to people like Kaitlin, who are so nightmarishly dumb, absolutely butt-fuckingly stupid, so as to think that what happened in the Capitol last night and what happens at your standard BLM protest, or even back during Martin Luther King's protests, is the same thing. It's very simple. It's very simple. If a riot is the voice of the unheard, then we have to necessarily ask, what is not being heard? What is the message that these people are not getting across? For BLM, the message is, please stop shooting us. Please, let us go through the justice system fairly with everyone else. They respond, when violence is enacted, to exterior violence. On the whole, and the data supports that. What is being said here? What is the unheard voice that Kaitlin Bennett is so quick to point out here? The unheard message is that their favorite child is not able to sit in his favorite chair in the Oval Office. He doesn't get his favorite wooden desk. He doesn't get to deliberate whether or not he wants to sleep in the White House that day or sleep in Trump Tower. No, that's what they're upset about. They're upset that they can't have their person. This is a person who is going on and on about the fact that Trump is her king. And if you wanted evidence that it wasn't about freedom, let's continue what is being said on the Liberty Hangout account, which again is co-owned by Kaitlin.
My allegiance isn't to democracy. My allegiance isn't to the Constitution. My allegiance is to Donald J. Trump.
Now, note that all these are being posted during the Boogaloo at the Capitol. Your allegiance isn't to the people. Your allegiance isn't to your country. Your allegiance is to your favorite whining Cheeto. Your allegiance is to a single dipshit that you think loves you. The guy who, might I tell you, is not only a giant con artist, but threw all of you dipshits under the bus, even Nazi Nicholas Fuentes understood this. Throughout all of this, of all people to jump off the Trump train, Nick Fuentes hopped off. Renita has it right in the chat. Caitlin's a simp. The next video I'm going to do is the issues with fucking radicalizing cult members. Oh, but it gets worse. Let's continue Liberty Hangout.
Today is the day the Democrats realize they lost. We, the people, will not accept a Joe Biden presidency. You have no power over us.
So, can I hate saying can I just say, because that's like the go-to response when it comes to looking at stuff like this. But their allegiance isn't to democracy, but then they go into this we the people shit. A democracy is supposed to be the government where the people have some form of representation in power. We are a republic, but we exercise representative democracy. We elect senators and representatives in the House that are supposed to represent us and our interests. If your allegiance isn't to democracy, then in our current state, and the way the nation is formulated right now, you're not for the people. You can pretend you are. You can cry and bitch and moan that you are. But you're not. And on her actual main account, it just keeps on getting more.
When your side spent half a year doing this to the country, you have no right to pretend to be outraged today.
Again, I hate to tell you over and over again, Kaitlin. 97% of the time, and I'm using that number because that is the number that is specifically, like, that actually is supported by the data. 97% of the time, this is not what happens. Also, you are the person who tries to go with the riots of the language of the unheard. But you even included in the speech the part where it asks, what is it that's not being heard? There is a difference between responding to violence with violence versus responding to democracy with violence. At the end of the day, what's being protested by people who are invading the Capitol? What's being protested by the people invading the Capitol? It's not that violence is being enacted on them. It's not that things are notoriously unfair. No, they're protesting democracy. They are upset at democracy. At democracy doing what it does. And of course,
DC police murdered a veteran in cold blood today, but there won't be any vigils for her like George Floyd. She won't get a plaza dedicated to her. She won't even have her name mentioned on the House floor and given a moment of silence. Never forget what they did to Ashley Babbitt.
Now, I'm not going to go through the radicalization of Ashley Babbitt. I'm not. The information's out there. If you really want to see her nosedive down the radical Trump train, then that information's there. Okay? You can do that. But this is another example of Kaitlin Bennett not understanding the context of a given situation. If a riot is the voice of the unheard, what are they not hearing? What are people not hearing? she doesn't get the context behind that. Or, more likely, because of the information that we have seen on Kaitlin, is deliberately obfuscating the fact that she knows the difference here. Yes, DC police did in fact murder a veteran. But it wasn't in cold blood, no. The woman who got shot was actively sieging a Capitol building, forced the Senate and the House to evacuate during a peaceful transference of power. That is not in cold blood. George Floyd is in cold blood. All he was guilty with at that time was, at best, potentially having a substance on him and having a dollar bill. The thing he got called for was a dollar bill. Growlithe is obviously not happy. Growlithe, come here. Come on, girl. Whereas, when you're actively sieging a capital and then suddenly upset that you got shot, or that somebody got shot, there is a difference here. Yes, there's a conversation to be had about whether or not the state should be allowed to enact violence on its people, but there is another equally valid conversation to be had about whether or not you should siege the Capitol during a democratic transference of power to protest democracy, to protest we the people, to protest the foundations on which America is supposed to be built. Kaitlin's lost the plot. Though I'm fairly certain that she didn't have the plot to begin with. But it gets better. It gets better. There's more shit in here.
We are calling on Governor DeSantis to begin drafting articles of secession to declare Florida a free and independent nation. We need a new country that will be safe from democratic tyranny.
Does this idiot not realize? The last time a secession was happening, it failed miserably. Go ahead. Have Governor DeSantis attempt to draft those articles. Go right ahead. See what happens. These people want to claim that they're patriots. These people want to claim that they're for the ideals of America, but the minute that their favorite asshole isn't in office, suddenly it's, please give me my safe space in Florida. No. Seriously. The snowflakes are bad, but I really need my safe space in Florida. Please. Florida specifically. I wonder if people like Kaitlin have ever looked in a mirror, honestly looked in a mirror, and tried to figure out who they are. The fact of the matter is, the only reason that I even have to say something like that is because the principles that they try to advocate for on the surface, liberty, are so juxtaposed to the principles they actually advocate for, totalitarianism, monarchy, fascism. I am convinced that people like Kaitlin know what they're doing. But they have to deliberately obfuscate, just like Richard Spencer has to, so that they can do this, because people would not take their pro-monarchy message by itself. Though there are some idiots who have. I've had arguments with pro-monarchy idiots. But at the end of the day, what we have here is an example of a sad, sad human being who is so upset that she lost, that she doesn't get to sit there and stand her wannabe fascist any longer. And the poetic part is she got thrown under the bus. Because today, Donald Trump threw all of them under the bus in his apology speech, where he noted that he was going to have a peaceful transference of power. Now, it's a bit late for that. I'd say that that doesn't absolve Trump of anything. It is far too little too late. After you steal the cookie from the cookie jar, you can't just vomit it back up and say it's okay, you can have it back. It's a bit late for that. But I think we can end this with a quick note. Can we get Fs in the chat for Kaitlin Bennett? Because reality has owned her so hard. There is no amount of burning, of owning, of insulting that I can do right now that equates what reality has already dealt her. The hand that circumstance, and dare I say, something that she thinks was in her power this whole time, destiny, has dealt her. F's in the chat for Kaitlin Bennett. This sorry sack of shit of a human being. If you haven't already hit the like button, please go ahead and do so. If you haven't subscribed, maybe now would be a great time to do so. If you would like to support me on Patreon, now is a time where I am obligated by the YouTube gods to go ahead and let you know, since we don't get paid enough on YouTube to begin with. And if you are watching this live, go ahead and check the description. There's a link to the Streamlabs donation button in there if you would like to donate to the stream as we are live right now. If you don't want to donate, that's perfectly fine. Don't do it if you are not able to. But I will be reading Super Chats after this, and I will be reading donations after this. So if you want to do so, please and thank you. Again, I'd like to say go ahead and subscribe, share with your friends if you want to. And with all that said, let's go ahead and end this sorry display.